Thank you very much. As announced, I'm from Food and Bio Cluster Denmark, so I'm one of the industrial clusters in this project, and I've had the pleasure of working with academics and from other educational institutions, as we are not an educational institution. It's been a challenge, but a very stimulating one to work with you. But we have some, say, other experiences and background for this. As mentioned, this has been the methodology, and we are now in stage 3, this work package on the feasibility assessment. I think this actually should not have been linear, it should have been circular, as we've been talking so much about circular economy, but that's kind of it's just a short remark. The work on the feasibility and sustainability assessment, I will present it with a few activities from the 6 regions, examples from that, examples of the economic sustainability, how difficult and challenging that has been, something about the governance in the different regions, and some ending up with some of the sustainability assessment overall. I think I would like to step one step backwards to say, what is bioeconomy and what is a center or hub? At least looking at the European map, a bioeconomy differs very much, I would say, in maturity, in understanding in each of the regions or the countries. For instance, in Denmark, we do not have a bioeconomy strategy. We have a lot of work on bioeconomy, but not a formalized strategy. Other countries have strategies, and some have had it for more than 10 years. I think Finland has been very early in that, in formulating a strategy. So that means that the bioeconomy as a term is not very well known outside, say, narrow circles. So when we started discussing what is bioeconomy at our workshops with our stakeholders, I just take an example from Germany. It can be very many things, from the farming systems to the left, to cities, to buildings, to research, to sewage treatment, to algae growing, and so forth. So there are so many things that could be termed bioeconomy, and I think we had to say to our Danish stakeholders in our workshops that, well, when there has been cells involved, living cells, then you can talk about bioeconomy. Okay, that made it clear for some people to understand what we're talking about. So we moved a step ahead with that. But just that discussion of what it is worthwhile. In Finland, we could say that a proportion of the bioeconomy that has the focus in the Finnish bio-based education hub is about forestry. And when you dive into that, there's a lot of different aspects of bioeconomy within forestry as such. And for the Danish bioeconomy, you could say we just discuss now carbon economy and future bioeconomy setup based on agriculture and food production, but involving biogas plants, upgrading of the methane, pyrolysis, district heating, liquefaction of the methane, or liquefaction of the carbon dioxide, and green grass protein refining as a feedstock as well in the bioeconomy. So this just to say that bioeconomy is the perception of bioeconomy differs. And also the term an educational center or hub differs. So if we took that as an example, we can take the German BBEC. How did they describe the educational center, the BBEC in Germany? It's different academic and non-academic activities, courses on bioeconomy topics for master programs. It also involves connection with industry through lectures, and where companies and startups play a role and present what they're doing. It can also be support for students to connect with industry actors for bachelor and master level thesis. It can also be tools for teaching bioeconomy related topics even to kids in the primary schools. It can be learning modules directed towards farmers, or you could say a primary actor in the bioeconomy. Can be online courses, as Lena also mentioned in the previous section. It can be books and scientific articles. So there's a lot of different types of activities. Certification, consultancy services can be actually a source of income for educational center, exhibitions for the public and so forth. So we've been around a lot of different activities in the different centers, and each center has their own, say, list of activities. But of course, some of them are found in more or less all of the hubs. This is the Irish diagram to say how does it look from the Irish perspective: a talent hub for jobs and skills, educational programs, apprenticeships, mentoring, projects, schools and communities, and also, as Nilo was asking, EU inter-university programs. How do we exchange between universities or between actors in the industry in different countries? So the activities planned, in summary, you can read about it in the deliverable 3.4, but it's about training the trainer. It's about cross-silo training. We need to go across to see how the connections are and the interlinks. It's about lifelong learning. It's also in most of the cases about vocational and academic students. It's about employees or actors in the bioeconomy. I mean, that could be farmers, but it's also consumers, and it's also industry. It's also the knowledge partners. It's indeed also in our Danish case about entrepreneurship. How can we get in touch with the young students, either vocational or academic, to go into the bio-based economy? It's an enabler for internships nationally and internationally. It's mentoring. And these are the lists of what we have identified in each of the countries. And you can see many of the things are found in all of the 6 BBECs, but some have more focus on a broader scope than others. It's mostly about adult education, although some also mention kids and so on. But it's if you take the European qualification framework, it's from level 2, typically from level 2 to level 7. It's as I mentioned, but also we take the mainstream education system to the left, the green one, but it's also the blue one, which is the professional and vocational adult educations. We have a lot of opportunities to go into these different levels. And I think we have the ambition in most of the countries, regions, to go into different levels. In addition to that, we have also non-learning activities, which is like new corporations, new marketing issues could be part of it, networking, developing the new educations, and the internationalization. It all adds to the competences for the bio-based industry. So the next step was to go into the economic and financial sustainability. And you could say it's the economy, stupid. That's what it's all about. If you don't have the financial muscles, you cannot do it. But it is very difficult, we've realized, to set up a good budget for a future dream. We've tried, but the preconditions differs a lot. Whether you're a cluster, you're a university, how are the salaries and so forth. The capital expenditures, operational expenses, and the revenues, they differ a lot from each type of cluster here. Just to exemplify, trying to make a standard methodology for all of us to calculate, we end up with very different capex in the different countries. In Ireland, it's very cheap, and in Eastern Europe, it's very expensive, you could say. But it depends. We have to dig into and read the preconditions for each of these figures because the intentions are different, and it depends very much on where's your starting point. In the operational expenditures, you can also say it differs a lot. Management is you could say expensive in all cases. Teachers differs very much whether the teachers are expected to be paid by the educational center or they are not calculated as being paid by the BBEC, but they have their salaries from their own institutions. So that will give a very different view. Buildings, again, we do not expect to build new walls for this, but there will be some expenses in some cases. Administrative costs differs. Again, it depends very much on what you calculate within the BBEC. As with the marketing, I think that in some cases it's very important that you really start a new marketing effort to be able to say that this is something new going across the existing silos and across the existing educational institutions as they are now. So we have a lot of different expenses, and also the revenue streams differs very much. It depends whether you go for having a lot of EU funding from projects or for national programs. You may even say that some are dependent on external funding, whereas the Finnish one is expected to have no public funding because it is the way you calculate it. It has not been calculated as part of the hub, but a lot of the university actors are publicly paid, but they are not calculated within this. So the revenue stream, again, what the participants, are they going to pay for the courses? It depends a lot. If it's below, say within the national education, the formal education system in Denmark, you should not pay anything. But if it's adult learning, you have to pay. So it differs very much from country to country. Other source of revenue, again, differs very much of whether it's in-kind or other services. So you try to calculate balance. You can say that, wow, we have 3 BBECs which are in negative balance from the start and 3 which are positive. But as I have indicated, it differs a lot how you calculate these things. So I think that the mere process of trying to establish a budget for a future BBEC helps you a lot to reflect on what are you going to do within your specific BBEC. So I think it has been very valuable, but I don't think that those specific numbers are very useful as they are. But the process has been very, very, very valuable. We also made, or Sustainable Innovation made, as part of this work package, investment readiness level survey. We made a self-assessment. How are we within, what competences do we have, how are the market, the talents, technology landscape, financials, and etc. So we can give ourselves a score, and we can end up with investment readiness level for each BBEC. And you can see that this also differs a lot. It differs because of what I have said earlier, but also how do you perceive it yourself? Is it so that the German one is less ready than the Finnish one, or is it because we estimated differently ourselves? But again, we have to learn from what we've been doing, and I think it has been valuable to do this exercise to be able to say, where are we? So the conclusion of this is that it's very different from case to case, and most important was to think about it during this feasibility. Concerning the governance, you could say that in Denmark it will probably be a commercial or a non-commercial foundation. In the Mediterranean, a non-profit association, a public body in Germany, and a consortium in Central Eastern Europe, etc. So different legal status of each of the BBECs. And you can make a lot of nice diagrams, but as it is not yet ready, I think many of these things can be used for applications for funds to do it, but it's probably not going to be exactly like this in any of the cases. University of Hohenheim, you have a bioeconomy hub. You have a BBEC, which is partly part of it, but also going outside. And you can make a simple diagram or a much more complicated one. And again, I think that doing these making these diagrams, you learn about what you're planning to establish. So the overall sustainability assessment, I would say that we had promised to do it like Delphi methodology to make this several phases of interviews and intermediate results and commenting and results and thesis and so on. And I think we've been doing that. We made it probably in our own way, but we have had these group interviews in work package 1, workshops, consultancies, analysis in work package 2, and the third round in work package 3. We are approaching how the sustainability is possible in each case, and I think it has been like you can say a free interpretation of the Delphi methodology to reach the point where we are now. So we expect that real BBECs, I think, will be started during the next 1 or 2 years. I think in Finland they might even have started. We have formulated overall mission and vision, but they are again a bit perhaps too generalized. And I'll say only the future can show and document whether these BBECs are sustainable in the local realities as we have now described it. Thanks to my colleagues, Jan from Food and Biocluster, Pablo from Sustainable Innovation, Giacomo from UNIBO, and Analyse from University Autónoma de Barcelona to contribute to this work package. Thank you very much.